Hi, welcome to the channel. I've been a bit of a negative, pessimistic Nancy lately, so I wanted to go on a rant today for my channel to get some of my soul out on here, and maybe you can relate. I'm going to be talking about the worst part about being like awake and like alive in this narcissistic world that we live in, because it's been a struggle for me to like adjust and like find solutions, because as you know, when you start healing and when you awaken, you start to see the truths of the world a lot more, and those truths are never pretty. And everyone says like law of attraction, like you once you spiritually evolve, you'll start to attract your soul tribe and all these beautiful things, but it's like you still have to exist in the world. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, I find it hard to like observe people from like an objective viewpoint and kind of like see people's projections and assumptions, and how a lot of people just straight up aren't living in reality. Like they think something in their head, say it out loud, and then just don't even like have a they're completely wrong, and there's no curiosity about it. And so there's like so many people that like live in this world of like endless reaction. Like they don't self-reflect. They don't think about if what they're saying is true. They might not even care about if what they're saying is true. And then they just are like in perpetual reaction. And these types of people are very confusing because they contradict themselves all the time, because they're just reacting in any moment with like no self-awareness. And I'm someone who's like super hard on myself about everything. So when I see people that just do things that just like affect others and harm others, and they just don't care, I'm like, or like even think about it, it like boggles my mind. And so another thing that really fucking annoys me is like projections. And like, because when I was conditioned and like still had like really low self-esteem, like people would tell me who I am and I would just believe them, or I would like feel shame and like feel like sad about it. But I feel like the pain of that bothered me less than the like frustration I feel being misunderstood and unseen by everyone in my life. Like it is frustrating as fuck that like I feel like I don't have anyone around me that really knows who I am or can understand who I am at all. And so I had some like pretty neat insights about narcissists today and narcissistic people, because I was wondering like why. I was like thinking about grandiose narcissists and how like they're living in this illusion like that they're a good person. Because when you really like observe narcissists for a long period of time, most of my knowledge comes from me just experiencing it and observing them, experiencing it way too much. But um once you observe them and you like really like get deeper into their heads and like how they think, like they'll start to like reveal themselves like slowly. Like they like slip up and you can like get a tiny little window into their ways of thinking. Because that's the thing with narcissists, is like they are like addicted to not being vulnerable. So like you don't really know what's actually going inside in their mental world, because they're never projecting the truth of their inner world. Do you know what I mean? They're never reenacting the truth of themselves. So like you don't fully ever know what's going on in your head. And that's also why I don't really love like a lot of like narcissist content, is because I feel like if they're perpetually not in reality or not honest, we can't really understand them that much just from like what they say. But that's like off topic. So what was I even talking about? Okay, yes. So grandiose narcissists, they have this illusion and this fantasy that they are like whatever they think of themselves. Handsome, kind, smart. But when you look at their behavior, they're like abusive, angry, sometimes not very smart. And if you've ever heard like how narcissists are like stuck in time, when people go through trauma, like they get stuck in time. And I think narcissists are like a really like advanced form of this, where like they are frozen back in time like perpetually, and it's like really hard to get out of. They're like in this like mental prison. And So kids are always innocent, and the way that I was seeing it is like when they were an innocent child, when they did nothing wrong, when they had good things about themselves, when they were smart, when they knew they were smart, when they knew they were beautiful, when they knew they were kind, and they were treated so badly that their heart closed and they turned into a narcissist. It's like they're perpetually stuck in that loop of like, yes, I was a good person and I didn't deserve this. And therefore they carry that into their adult life where like now they're reenacting what happened to them, not even aware of it, and they're still convinced that they're doing nothing wrong and that they're a good person and that they're whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it's really interesting to think about. I don't know if I explained that correctly, but like, yeah, let's just like sit on that. So it's kind of sad, but it makes sense, like why they're living in this fantasy. So then I wonder, like, if like, so narcissists don't trust themselves. Could you cure narcissism by like having a narcissist like fully accept that reality? Because in order to grow, you have to accept where you are at. To go to the next moment, you must be in the truth of one moment. And that's one thing about narcissists, is they're never in the truth of the moment. They're in a whole illusionary reality, which causes them to never grow. And so I wonder if like if you could get them to accept something about the reality, can they grow in like a positive way? Like could you help them in that way? Because it is true that at the time they were traumatized, they were a good person, they were innocent, they were an innocent child. But it's not true anymore. But they're just like stuck in that version of time. And so yeah, another thing that has really been bothering me is assumptions, like people who make assumptions. And did I already talk about that? I did, yeah. And so like how like people can be so confident in their assumptions, and it kind of makes me feel a little bit insecure because I'm like, do I make assumptions? Is that why I'm surrounded by people who are always assuming? But like, no, that's like a false spiritual like thing where it's like everyone is a mirror of you. Like, yes, that is a phase that you go through on the healing journey where everyone is a mirror of you, but you get to a point where like you don't just live in a bubble reality with perfect people all the time. Once you heal, like you still have to be around false mirrors or people that aren't like you. And so, but it makes me a little bit insecure because I'm like, I observe people like heavily, and I feel like I have pretty good discernment. So like I will take in all like, and I have my brain like processes complexity like very fast, and I feel like I have like an intuitive element in the way my brain works as well, where like I can gather evidence and complex information in my mind and then use my intuitions and my feelings to come up with an educated guess about why someone does the things they do, what traits they have, but it's always based in reality and there's never any motive to it. It's the motive is honestly to figure out where my boundaries are with people. And that's the difference between people like you and me and narcissists, is that like they have when they observe people, they have a motive. The motive is like to protect their self-image, to make themselves feel superior, to hurt you, to control you. But if your motive is just to like have healthy boundaries and like it's emotional intelligence to like understand people so that you can protect yourself and not drain yourself and not put yourself in harm's way. But yeah, so another thing is like witnessing people that like people who have ever experienced people who like interact with their assumptions of you and then they like create a relationship with you based on those assumptions. Like for example, it's like if someone assumes your emotional state and then treats you as if you are having that emotional state when you're not, and then they actually make you feel that emotional state. Like I've had this happen to me where I'm starting new jobs and people are treating me like I'm nervous, like giving me a bunch of reassurance and like saying like, you look lost, are you okay, and I'm like completely fine, just like focused on learning. And then it makes me uncomfortable. Like I feel uncomfortable around you now, because it's also like a mini boundary violation to like probe on someone's emotional state that you've just met. But so like it's like their behavior makes me feel uncomfortable, and then like it confirms their belief that I'm like shy or nervous or anxious, but really it's just like your actions are making me uncomfortable. And it's difficult because with some people, like, you can communicate, you can be like, hey, like, I'm actually fine, like, it's like a mismatch, but you can always tell with certain people that like if you call them out or if you try and communicate, they're just not like interested in that. They're just in like full-time reaction mode or full-time assumption mode. Oh yeah, and this is what I was gonna say about narcissists and like how they're not in reality. Like they're in their own like separate illusionary world of just them. And it's like nothing you wait, what was I gonna say? So if you oh yeah, so they're not in reality. And so it's like when people are like not in reality for so long, like imagine like for like 10 years of your life, you every time you do something wrong, you're telling yourself, I did nothing wrong, I didn't do it, and you're like denying it out loud to people. Your brain starts to like create neural pathways where you reflexively deny reality. And if you observe behavior from like long-term narcissists, you can see them like denying reality in things that are completely insignificant, like things that don't even benefit them anymore, like really little things. Like I see this a lot with like parents, where they have like the stories about you or about their kids that like don't make any sense. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like I think I saw someone on the internet saying that like her baby was like, no, I mean that's not a good example, but it's just like people like will like say things about kids, and it's like if you actually hang out with the kid, you'll like observe that this kid is not like that at all, and it's just like a story this person has like created in their head. And yeah, I don't really get that. I don't really understand where it comes from, because for me, like, I value truth and like being in reality, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I'm in reality. Like I could just be like in my own narcissistic bubble reality too, and like seeing people completely wrong as well, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, you know. But um yeah, it's kind of hard to exist in a world of sleeping people, because when you're no longer like conditioned and gaslighting yourself and invalidating yourself, you see how like prevalent it is, how prevalent toxic behavior is, and how prevalent it is to like just believe everything you think, or like make chronic assumptions about people, or make everything about yourself, and how common it is for people to not really be connected to truth. And so, I mean, we just got out of the age of illusion, though. You know what I mean? So this earth has been in this age of illusion where we are living in illusion created realities, and there's like been a few people who have been awake during this time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the age of Pisces is like the age of the illusions, and then we are in the age of Aquarius right now, which is the move into light on planet Earth, which is super beautiful. But you know, I think I remember one spiritual teacher. There was like this monk, he had this quote. He was like, if you want to know the key to enlightenment, stay away from people. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if that's like spiritual, or like I don't know if that's like loving, but I understand what he meant, because there is like a mass plague of disconnection from truth and integrity. And you know, I'm not like judging people. I have like an understanding, like an in-depth understanding of why people are like this: trauma, conditioning, conformity, vulnerability, safety, connection, whatever it is, even like soul path, soul desires, collective timelines. collective plan, the universe's plan. There's all these reasons that we can accept it, but we still also have to accept like how negative it can be, because I don't know if I said this already, but I've been feeling so negative and discouraged lately, because it feels like when you stop chasing approval from others and when you become grounded in your own sense of self, people misunderstand you all the time. And people just can't see you. People just don't know who you are. People just, they're not even interacting with you. They're interacting with a version of you in their heads, and it's lonely. Because what I've noticed is like, it's like, even if you're like having a conversation, when people aren't present in reality and you are offering presence, it's like, it feels kind of draining and like lonely, because it's like, especially when no one is being vulnerable. Like, this is another thing I noticed. Some people talk in code. Like, non-vulnerable people, like people who have an issue with vulnerability, they talk in code. And I found it interesting, like, decoding what people mean. Like, sometimes I'll notice someone like gives advice or like tells me something that doesn't really make sense. And when something doesn't make sense to me, I always try and find out like what could be the cause of the nonsenseness. I don't just let things go. Never let things go. Have to know, have to seek the knowledge. But regardless, so whenever people do that, so they'll say something that doesn't make sense, and then I'm like reading that, like, it's like they're covering up their vulnerability with this like performance kind of talk, and you can like see their vulnerability, and it can also like show you like how someone doesn't self-reflect. Like, their lack of self-reflection can be decoded from what they say to you, because it's like they're stuck in moments from the past, and then they're like speaking in code about how they never got through that moment. And I hope you understand what I mean. I don't want to like go into like the actual example, but yeah, they speak in code. And it kind of bothers me, because I also like don't want to have my mind clogged with people who speak in code, but because for me, I'm a very like vulnerable person. Like, I'll just tell it to you straight up, dude. I like to be open, but I've had to learn like how not to be open around people, because a lot of people, like I said, just can't understand what you're saying when you're being open, and or they don't want to understand it. And especially like when people have like triggers and trauma, it's like, also, if people don't know how to regulate their emotions or take responsibility for their emotions, then when you are open or excited or whatever, and it makes them uncomfortable, instead of them recognizing that they're uncomfortable, they think you make them uncomfortable. And it can be difficult. You have to like learn how to navigate and like protect yourself from people who, you know what I mean. But that's another thing about responsibility and narcissists is, I don't know if you've ever noticed, like, highly narcissistic people who don't take responsibility for their emotions, like, literally leak out their emotions into the energetic field. Like, I've felt this with multiple different people, where it's like, you can feel their aura, but it's almost like they're trying to intrude and give you their emotions. Like, unconsciously, they're always just handing their emotions to everyone, and it's like they want you to just take it. And like sometimes they'll even like get angry at you for not taking on their emotions, or they'll like think that you are not a good friend, daughter, whatever, for not taking on their intrusive energy that they put out to you, and then they're just leaking it everywhere into the energetic field. And then people take it on. That's the thing about like the 3D parasitic reality, is it's like the narcissists give their stuff, and then people are conditioned to take it on. Just take it on. And then when you don't take it on, it's almost like the unconscious mind of these type of people like doesn't know what to do with that. It like breaks the script, the 3D script. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not supposed to happen. You know, and there's narcissists and there's victims. There's people pleasers and there's narcissists. There's nothing else, you know? So yeah. Thank you for listening to my rant today. My name is Abigail. Let me know what you think in the comments if you have anything to add, or if you disagree or agree with me. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.